Good morning, grade 9 students. In this session, we're going to continue with the genetics for 5 about the laws of heredity. Laws of Mendel, or the laws of heredity. Mendel is the biologist who discovered the laws of heredity throughout all these times. Mendel was the first to talk about the laws of heredity. We said that we have 3 different laws of heredity. The first law, it was the law of uniformity of the hybrids of the first generation. What the meaning of uniformity? Uniformity meaning that in the first generation, all the F1, all the first generation, they are uniform. What does this mean? This means that all of them, they are the same. All of them, they are identical, meaning that all of them, they have the same phenotype as well as the same genotype. So they have the same phenotype and the same genotype. Heterozygous is the hybrid. Since all the F1, when the parents are pure, example about this in the case of the quiz, long wings were crossed with vestigial wings. So long is the dominant, crossed with the vestigial, which is the recessive, V small, V small. So LL would give one type of gamete, which is the L. VV would give one type of gamete, which is the V. So this is the F1 genotype. F1, they are heterozygous. They are hybrid. Why? Because we have 2 different type of gametes. They are heterozygous, but all the F1, they are identical. They are the same. They have the same genotype, LV, and they have the same phenotype, which means that all of them, they are having long wings. So this is the case of the law of uniformity of the F1, meaning that all of them, they have the same phenotype and the same genotype. Do we have to study the law? I said yesterday or the last time, I said yes. Do we have to know that the uniformity of F1, meaning that all the F1, all the first generation, they are identical and they have the same phenotype and genotype? Yes. Do we have to know that the first law, it's only in the first generation, in the F1. So always whenever we have a question, I did ask about which law is confirmed. If we have the F1 generation, meaning that it's the first law. Moving for the second law. Second law, it's law of independent segregation or disjunction of the traits. The traits or the factors of the hybrid of the F1, they are separated of one another during the gamete formation. Mainly, this one is applied whenever we cross F1 with F1. What do we call when we cross F1 with F1? It's called the self-cross. F1 with F1 is called the self-cross, crossing F1 with itself. This crossing between F1 and F1 will lead to give F2. It gives the second generation F2. This F2, we have the law 2. Second law, what do we have in the second law? Second law, the traits or the factors of the hybrid of F1, they are separated independently. What is the meaning of this? F1 example about this, we have LV crossed with LV. What different types of gametes? We have 2 gametes here. And here also we have 2 gametes. Here we have L and V. Here we have L and V. If it's percentage, 50% for the L and 50% for the V. And here if it's percentage, 50% and 50%. While if it's proportion, what does this mean? If it's a proportion, it's 1 over 2, 1 over 2, and 1 over 2, and 1 over 2. This is the case whenever we have proportion. 1 over 2, it's 50%. 1 over 4, whenever we have 25%. So law 2 is when we have F2 generation. So their union with their gamete determines the heterogeneity of the F2 generation, meaning that the F2, they are not identical. We have different phenotypes and different genotypes in the F2 generation. So the second law is whenever we have the F2 generation. Whenever we cross F1 with F1, do we have to study the law? Yes. Third law, law of purity of the gametes. It's impossible to find a certain gamete two alleles at the same time, whether they are identical or not. For example, we said that we have LV. How many different types of gametes do we have? We have two, L and we have V. So two different gametes we have. These two different gametes is wherever we have only one allele. We don't have two alleles as a gamete. So L is a gamete and V is gamete. So this is the third law, law of purity of the gametes. So it's impossible to find in a certain gamete two alleles, only one allele in each gamete. So this is called law of purity of gametes. So this is also applied in the second generation in the F2. So whenever we have F2, law 2 and law 3 are applied. Whenever we have F1, so the law 1 is applied. So you have to study these laws. Laws of heredity is found on your book on page 138 and 139. So here we have cross 1. Upon crossing a pure line, who can tell me by raising the hands what the meaning of pure line? Raising your hand. What the meaning of pure line? Yes. What the meaning of pure line? What the meaning of pure? This is the meaning of pure line, the pure. What is the pure? Yes, Callum. What the meaning of pure?
Basically, pure is like a homozygous.
Homozygous. Very good. Thank you. So pure line of smooth peas is crossed with a pure line of wrinkled peas. So smooth and wrinkled. These are the smooth peas like this. They smooth. Wrinkled, they are wrinkled peas. So here we have this crossing. We got all the obtained peas. They are smooth. So if I ask you, Hadi Fadlallah, what can you deduce from this cross? The first cross.
Yes, sir.
What can you deduce from this cross? Sure, you don't want to say we deduce that. I told you how you can say this part, how you can solve this part. What do you have to say, Ya Hadi?
So the smooth
Since
with the pure line. I mean, sorry, the smooth piece is dominant over the wrinkled piece.
okay, this is your answer. This is the way you have to answer
And
to the quiz.
F1 is it's self cross.
First of all, no. Pay attention. Cross 1. We cross pure line of smooth piece with a pure line of wrinkles. All the obtained are smooth. The question is, what can you deduce from this cross? We have to start since all the F1 they are.
All F1 are smooth.
Yes.
Then the smooth piece are dominant over the wrinkled piece.
Which is
recessive.
Recessive, and you have to mention the allele. So as Hadi said, since all the F1 they are smooth, like one of the parents, so the smooth allele is dominant over the wrinkled allele, which is recessive. Cross 2,
Okay.
we cross two F1 individual. Thank you, Hadi. We cross F1 with F1. What do we call this cross, Yasmina? When we cross F1 with F1. Yes, Yasmina, what do we call the cross
Yes,
whenever
sir.
we cross F1 with F1?
F1, it's self-cross.
Self-cross. So we cross F1 with F1. So we have 5 plants with wrinkled seeds and 15 with smooth seeds. So here they want you to go to the questions. So the questions they are. So here we have to continue with the questions. Determine the dominant and the recessive alleles according to which cross? To cross 1. To cross 1, Fadl Basma. Determine the dominant and the recessive allele in cross 1.
Yes, أستاذ.
Yes, your answer is.
فيك ترجع عند السؤال؟
وين كان أنت فضل يعني؟ You're not hearing my question?
بلا بس فيك تعيده.
What is determine the dominant and the recessive allele in cross 1?
Smooth seeds.
Smooth seeds is what? Determine the dominant and the recessive allele. Thank you. Thank you very much. This is the easiest part. Yes, I want to move to Mariam. Determine the dominant and the recessive allele. Thank you, Fadl, very much for your answer, Yan. Thank you.
Yes.
Determine, ya Mariam, the dominant and the recessive allele as well. Dominant and recessive in cross 1. So I want you to determine the dominant and recessive allele in cross 1.
Since all of one piece are smooth,
Right.
like one of the parents, the
Yes.
smooth allele is dominant over the wrinkled allele, which is the recessive.
Thank you, Mariam. Very good. Thank you. So the smooth allele is dominant. Moving now to second part. Which of Mendel's law is verified here? Here we have the first generation. So which Mendel's law is verified here? Is the first law of uniformity of all the F1, meaning that all the F1, they have the same phenotype as well as the same genotype. Moving part C, indicate the genotype of the parents and that of F1. Yes, Sarah Khalifi, the genotype of the parents.
Yes.
Yes. Did we give the symbols first?
No.
So we have to give the symbols in this part. Even though I
Yes.
didn't ask for. Yes.
Let us be the symbol of
As capital or small?
capital
Capital, very good.
of the smooth dominant allele
Yes.
over the recessive allele.
Very good. And let.
W small,
Yes.
symbol of the wrinkled allele.
Very good.
Wrinkled allele recessive.
With respect
with
to
res-
the smooth
the
dominant
dominant
allele. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much. So here, Sarah, she gave the symbol. She gave S for the smooth, which is the dominant, as capital, and wrinkled for the recessive allele, which is W small. So they gave us they are pure. So the smooth P, they are dominant and they are pure. So they are S capital, While the wrinkled, they are recessive and they are pure. So they are W small. I can't use a symbol and then in the second cross I will change it. Like some of you they did in the quiz. They use a symbol and then they change it in the second part. So this will cross all the question. This means that you are not determining what is the symbol. You don't know what is the symbol. So here the offspring will be all of them, they are smooth. So when they get the descendant, they get S from the smooth, the F1, and they get W from the wrinkled, so they become SW. So this is the F1 generation. So they are SW, the F1 generation. SW is the F1 generation, and all of them, they have the same phenotype. Moving now to cross 2. Cross 2, what do they want in cross 2? In cross 2, they want you to do the following. So here, they want you in cross 2 to give the gametes produced by the F1 plant. F1 plant, ya Jad, the genotype is what? Jad is here. So let's move to other than Jad. I think Jad is not here. Jad is here. Jad, good morning. Jad Sha'ar. Good morning, Jad. Okay, I need a new volunteer. Let's move to Rena. Rena Manana, good morning. Okay, silent mode students. Thank you. So here, let's move now to the type of gametes. F1 generation, they are SW. So SW, what does this mean? This means that we have two types of gametes, S and W. Percentage 50-50, 50%, 50%. If it's the case of proportion, it's what? It's the half and half. To which hereditary laws did you refer? Always whenever we have self-cross, the laws, they are the second and the third. Law of independent segregation of the gametes and law of uniformity of the gametes or law of purity of the gametes. Calculate the proportion of different phenotypes obtained. So proportions, what do we have to use? Here is the second law. So second law, they are talking about, you have to talk about the proportions. What do they do? They said that we have 15 with smooth and 5 with wrinkled. So what does this mean? We have 15 and 5. So in order to work with the proportion, first of all, I have to take the smallest number. So the smallest number is what? The smallest number is the 5. So we have 15 and 5, take the smallest number, and then we have to divide by the smallest number. So this is the case of proportion. So whenever we have proportion, you have to take the smallest number, and we solve this hundreds of times about this. So first, take the smallest number, which is the 5. Divide all the numbers by it. The wrinkled, we have 5. So divide by 5. So 5 divided by 5. And the smooth is 15. 15 divided by 5, it's a 3. So for the wrinkled, we have 1. And for the smooth, we have 3. So 3 plus 1, it's 4. So here, 4, we have to use it. So 1 over 4 will be for the wrinkled. And the 3 over 4 will be for the smooth. Here, we finish the part talking about the proportion. Then they ask you, perform the essential factorial analysis to verify the results for both cross. Cross 1, we cross smooth with wrinkle. Both of them, they are pure. Both of them, they are homozygous. So the smooth is SS crossed with WW. So the smooth, we are going to work with proportion. So 100%, it's in the percentage. Proportion, I said this hundreds of times before, they are 1 over 1. And the wrinkle, WW, so it gives only one type of gamete, which is W. So 1 over 1. Table of cross, we have to put the male and the female. S for the male, 1 over 1. And W for the female, 1 over 1. So in the table of result, we have SW 1 over 1. So SW meaning that we have smooth. So smooth 100% if you are working in percentage. But here we are working in proportion. So 1 over 1, smooth. So all of them, they are smooth. So the results are verified. However, when we move to cross 2, F1 with F1. So SW crossed with SW. So S, it's half gametes. So phenotype first, then genotype, then gametes. S, it's half, and W half. S is half, W is half. So SW and SW, male and female. So SS, how did you get 1 over 4? It's 1 over 2 times 1 over 2. It's math. So 1 over 4, and then SW 1 over 4, SW again 1 over 4, and WW 1 over 4. In the table of result, we have SS and SW. Both of them, they give smooth. So 3 over 4 is smooth, and WW 1 over 4, so it's wrinkled. So this, therefore, the results are verified. Now, let's move to the quiz. The quiz, that was very simple. And the concept and the idea was very similar to the question that we solved it for the first 2 parts only. The rest, it was different. So we crossed 2 Drosophila of pure race. What the meaning of pure race? Meaning that they are homozygous. So both of them, they are homozygous. The female having long wings with the male having vestigial. All the F1, they have long wings. So moving to the first part. Abbas Hashim, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
First part, can you read it and answer it?
What? Okay. What can you deduce from this cross?
Yes. What can you deduce from this cross? Yes, Abbas, waiting your answer.
Okay, we can deduce from this cross
First of all,
that
نحن هيدا بس نحل هيدا البارت. We don't say we deduce that. We said that since all the F1. Yes. Did you review the questions that we solved them before, Abbas? Abbas, can you hear me?
yes,
Did you review the questions? Not read the questions or tell me the solution by reading them on the copybook. I said, did you review them? Did you review the questions that we solved them before the quiz or not?
not.
How did you solve the quiz without reviewing the notes, without studying the notes? Did you practice the questions? Did you see your grade?
Yeah.
Thank you. Adam Yahya. Adam Yahya, good morning. Okay, stay in silent mode. Moving now to others. Reem Farran, good morning. Give me Kalam few seconds and then you can answer the question. Few seconds. Reem Farran. Great. Good job. Okay, Kalam, can you answer the first part?
So basically, since all the F1 generation have long wings, just like one of the parents, we can deduce
Excellent.
that the long wings allele is the dominant allele over the residual wings, which are recessive.
Very good. So since all the F1, they have long wings like one of the parents. So the long wings allele is dominant over the vestigial allele, which is recessive. Designate by a symbol the corresponding alleles. So you can say let L capital be the symbol of the long wings allele, which is dominant over the vestigial allele, which is recessive. And let V small be the symbol of the allele, which is the vestigial allele, which is recessive with respect to the dominant long wings allele. Or two, designate by symbol each of the corresponding alleles. Which one is the dominant? The long. So the long is dominant, so let L capital and let V small. This is the symbol. Here, quarter for only to give the symbols. 0.75 marks to give the deduction. Already we solved this hundreds of times how we can solve this. Write the genotype of each of the two parents in Drosophila. I need the genotype of the two parents Drosophila. You can answer this question raising your hands. Other than column, I need new students. Rana Manana, can you hear me? Rana Manana. Okay, great. Those who are not replying through the live session, I will accept this or ignore their attendance. Yani they are not attending my session. Jad Sha'ar, can you hear me? Okay, great. Okay, so Jad and Rana, they are not here. Mariam Aklat, genotype of each of the two parents in Drosophila. Can you give me the genotype?
Yes. And will be long wings.
Long wings. Genotype. What the meaning of genotype? It's the LL, LV, VV. This is the genotype. Long or vestigial, it's the phenotype. Yes?
LL.
LL? Which one is the LL? The two parents. One of them having long and one of them having vestigial. Yes, Mariam.
LL and VV.
Al for what?
The male VV
Please
For
keep
and
raising
the
your hands before
female
you speak. Yes, Mariam.
L for the long wings.
Very good.
For female.
Yes.
And VV is for the genital of
For the one having the
vestigial
vestigial.
wings.
Thank you.
With
Thank you, Mariam.
male.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you, Mariam. So the long wings, they have LL. While the vestigial, they have VV. Why L capital and V small? Already we discovered that the long is dominant and the vestigial is recessive. Moving forward, Jad, can you unmute yourself now? You can speak, I think. You are unmuted. Okay, Fadl, part 4. Read the question, please.
yes. Specify the phenotypes obtained in the
Descendants
F1 of this couple of Drosophila.
Drosophila. Okay, so specify the phenotypes in the F1. Yani what is the phenotype in the F1? بس عم بيقول لي specify, يعني we have to justify. So what is the phenotype in the F1?
Phenotype male vestigial wings
They said in the
times
F1. They said in the F1, and they didn't mention the parents. They need only the F1. Only the F1. What is the phenotype in the F1?
long
Long wings. You have to
wings.
specify it. Justify. Why? Lana Safiuddin, what do you think? Thank you, Fadl. Lana, what do you think?
Long wings
Okay.
times
No.
long
There is no
wings.
factorial analysis. No factorial analysis here. Factorial analysis is not needed in this part. They don't want factorial analysis. Lana Safiuddin, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Specify the phenotypes. فضل قال لي long wings. بس ما قدر يعمل لي justify. Can you justify this? The first 3 parts, they are common. And the question that we solve it in the quiz. So what in the class before. So what did you do, most of you? They copied the question the same, even though I changed most of the questions. So part 3, I ask you to specify the phenotypes. They are long wings. Why? Al. How many types of gametes Lana will give? Al. How many types of gametes? Al. It will give only one type.
100.
It will give only one type, which is Al.
Yes.
VV. How many type of gametes does it give?
100.
Which is 100 what? Only V, right?
Yes.
So the F1, they should be what?
LV.
LV, they are long or vestigial?
Long.
This is the explanation. So you have to say the parents are pure, so they should inherit or they should get L from the long wings, and they should get V from the vestigial. So the genotype should be LV Fadl and Lana, and their genotype should be LV, and they are 100% long. Because a Drosophila of the F1, show what genotype of the F1, and already we determined this. It's LV. Cross with the Drosophila having vestigial wing. Yasmina, what is the genotype of the vestigial wings in Drosophila? Yes, Yasmina. What is the genotype of the vestigial wings Drosophila? Okay.
It's VV.
It's VV. Why? Can you explain this? Why it's VV?
Because it's recessive.
And should be expressed only in homo?
Homozygous.
right? So here
Yes.
we got cross Drosophila with F1 and the long wings, and the genotype LV with vestigial and the VV. So here we got 50% and the long wings, and 50% they have vestigial. They need factorial analysis to verify this. So in the factorial analysis, what do we have to start? First, in the factorial analysis, we have to start with what? We have to start with the phenotype. Then we have to start with genotype, gametes, table of cross, and table of results. So in the phenotype, which is a simple question and a very easy question. So male, we have, let's say it's the long wings crossed with the vestigial wings, the F1 with the vestigial, which is homozygous and recessive. Genotype, male has what? It has LV. Crossed with the female, it has VV. So here in the gametes, what do we have? In the gametes, we have L, which is 50%, and we have V, which is 50%. Here, 50. And the last one here, VV, only we have one type of gamete, which is the V, which is 100%. Moving now for the table of cross. Sure, you have to draw it using a pencil and a ruler. So this is the table of cross. Here we have to divide it into male and female. So this is the male. We have divided into two. Male, we have L, 50%, and V, it's 50%. And the female, we have only one type of gamete, which is the V, which is 100%. So L cross with V is LV. 50 times 100 divided by 100, so it's 50%. And V times V, it's VV, it's also 50%. So this is the table of cross, table of results. So we have to divide it into genotype and phenotype. So I'm going to write it geno and pheno, but you are not allowed to do this in the quiz for sure. You have to write genotype and phenotype in order to save time. So LV, 50%, and we have VV, it's 50%. LV, 50%, so 50% they have long wings. And 50% here, they have vestigial wings. And the end, you have to write, therefore, results are verified, since they ask you to verify the results. This is the question, and this is the quiz. It was very easy.